his feet in a manner never before seen by yourselves or any other audience anywhere in the world. I need to know how he does it.
He has no trick. It's real.
Christopher Nolan has become one of the most influential directors working today, and while his films are all over the place with different genres, he always walks that fine line between fantasy and reality. They often feel very completely plausible, but one consistent thing of all of Christopher Nolan's films is that it's always about the story and the characters, which are grounded, and one film in particular is completely that. The Prestige showcases Nolan's craftsmanship as a genius filmmaker and is his most underrated and underappreciated film next to Insomnia, and in our opinion, his masterpiece to date. Unfortunately, it was overlooked by bigger films that came out around the same time, and honestly, it's still pretty much overlooked today. I mean, even today, when I talk to friends or people about Christopher Nolan films, The Prestige is never or barely mentioned. The film is about two competing magicians. After one is injured by the other, he seeks retribution against him in a very complex way that borders on insanity. Now, I'll admit, back when this came out, I remember it just didn't look very interesting to me. The trailers just looked generic, and I really had no desire to see it, until a good friend took Simon and I to see it, and it completely reeled us in and hooked us in and immediately became one of our favorite films, especially from Christopher Nolan. The film is smart, it's suspenseful, it has all these twists and turns that suck you in from start to finish. Most of all, it's a very human story between these two characters, and as we go along with them on their journey into madness, revenge, and finally retribution. And by the end of the film, it becomes an emotional, sometimes heart-wrenching story. The sheer art and genius of how Christopher Nolan not only directs, but also notably writes the film is skillfully done. Now, at times, the way the movie is told, the multiple storylines may feel confusing. You're not exactly sure where the story is going, but by the third act, it all comes together and wrapped up very nicely, and I have to say, very unpredictably. You think these characters and the story is headed in one direction, and then it totally flips itself on its head and completely goes a different direction that leaves you thinking and talking about the film way after it's over. And that's the true sign of a great film, is you talk about it and think about it and meditate on it for days with yourself, between friends and family. And that one shot when it all comes together around the ending is very haunting and also completely satisfying. To this day, when I think about that scene, I get chills. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Nolan uses his sense of an independent filmmaker with his use of the camera, with writing, with editing, with the music. He relies on traditional filmmaking instead of being heavy-handed on effects, on shaky cam, or other things to tell the story. And the in-depth performances from Hugh Jackman and Kristen Bell, it completely engrosses you and submerges you in their story, where you keep switching sides between who you're rooting for. Christopher Nolan knows how to tell a story which could have been a very complex and overwhelming story if put in the wrong hands. Yet Christopher Nolan surprises us with his razor-sharp direction, his sharp storytelling that again is very satisfying. The Prestige is the prime example of how to make a film based purely on story and characters, and it's breathtaking and pure cinema, which is why The Prestige makes a great addition of an underrated film of lost cinema.